Hey everyone, either welcome back or welcome to my channel. And in today's video, I want to talk about what can happen if IIH isn't detected and it isn't treated. So before I get too far into any details, time for the intro. Hey everyone, my name is Ashley Stewart. So 2018 was actually a pretty hard year for me, but it was also a pretty good year too. So I completed my bachelor's degree in biochemistry, but at the same time, I was also diagnosed with a rare condition called idiopathic intracranial hypertension, or IIH. Some of you may also know this by its older name called pseudotumor cerebri. So, if you're curious to learn more about what it's like to live with this rare condition, then I encourage you to watch on. Don't forget to subscribe, and I upload new content every Monday and Thursday afternoon. Since it's IIH Awareness Month, I think it's really important to share with people what can happen if this condition isn't caught and what can happen if it's not treated. There are some pretty serious implications that can occur because of not getting treated for this condition. So, the biggest one that can occur is vision loss. And this one is because when there's high pressure in the head, this can lead to something called optic nerve swelling, or medical term for this is called papilledema. And if papilledema isn't treated, it can lead to permanent vision loss and eventually blindness if it's not treated in time. This is basically the major complication of IIH, but there are some things in the research that are starting to show up in some areas that are brand new, that are starting to show some other signs of what can happen when you're not treated from IIH. One of the things I've seen, and I follow people who do research on Twitter, is cardiovascular issues, and they've actually shown that this is independent of weight. When I first seen this, I was like, of course, because there's a high correlation with weight, and we already know that there's a huge correlation between obesity and heart disease. When I actually read this study, it actually showed that there was this risk of cardiovascular disease independent of the obesity issue, which is really actually quite interesting. And this is in the very early stages of research, so I'm curious to know where this is gonna kind of go from here. If you also follow me, I usually do retweet everything of that is important to IIH, and it's because my channel is dedicated to IIH. So if you follow me on Twitter, I should be retweeting anything that comes up in the IIH research that I think is of significance. I don't retweet everything, but I do try and retweet as much as I can that I think is the most important. Like I was saying, the biggest complication of not getting IIH treated is the vision loss. And I had alluded to this in my last video where I talked about the first research that I was wanting to get looked at and how long it takes for the papilledema to show up based upon my own experiences of with double vision and all that, and how long it's taken to get the papilledema to go down. It's really hard to know, like, is it quick, is it slow? So that's one of the reasons why I had mentioned that that's one of the things that I wanted to know for sure, and the best way to know that is through scientific research, peer reviewed. So the old name for IIH is called pseudotumor cerebri, which I mentioned in the every intro that, or I mentioned in my intro and will continue to mention when I make my new intro. I'm going to be making a new intro very soon. And so pseudotumor cerebri stands for false tumor of the brain. And I actually have this on my channel banner because I use IIH, idiopathic intracranial hypertension, and pseudotumor cerebri to describe what we all know as IIH, or idiopathic intracranial hypertension. So it used to be called pseudotumor cerebri because a lot of the symptoms actually match that of a brain tumor. So they need to make sure that you're not actually experiencing a brain tumor. Now, some tumors are benign, but some are not. As for the condition itself, the majority of what we know today is that it's it seems to be mostly the the vision loss, but there appears to be in the research that there is more to the condition, but this research is very new. Because this research is so new, it'll be a little bit before those the research catches up to what they're treating basically. There just needs to be more research done because not a lot is known about IIH. It's all trial and error until they figure out what works for you basically. And when it comes to IIH, it definitely seems to be quite individual. So they have a flow chart that they do use. You can find this in the scientific literature if you look for it. But there is a flow chart that they use, and they start at a certain point depending on which category you fall under. So there is like kind of an algorithm to treating IIH. I like to keep this channel focused as much as I can on IIH in a scientific way. So if I'm not sure about something, even if I think I might be onto something, I'm not going to share it because I don't want to put out misinformation. This is why I approach my channel as this is what I go through. You may be different, and I will respond to every comment that says, "Well, what can I expect with this kind of thing?" I'm just like, "Well, with me, dot dot dot. However, if you have any questions, please ask your medical team, your doctors, your nurses, whoever's there for you because I have not maybe been in the same situation. Like I said, I have no experience with shunts or stents or any surgeries. So I'm not the person to be asking those type of questions. So make sure that you guys are definitely asking questions to the right people. When it comes to specific medical information, I obviously cannot give you guys that. You have to make sure that you're asking your medical team those questions. Please don't ever ask me medical questions online. I do have a disclaimer on every single video, whether or not it's heavy in medical information or not. And it just, please contact your doctor if you have any questions about your own situation because I am not able to answer those types of questions. So if you guys have anything that you would like to add to this video, feel free to add a comment down below. And as for now, that's it for today. Bye everyone.